Well, good afternoon if anyone's watching. Hello and good to see you. Or good for you to see me, I guess. I'm gonna get started here momentarily. I'll just put a note. Just gonna put a note in Discord that I'm live, because I am. I always forget if it needs me to put HTTP in front of that to make it a link, and I guess it does. There we go. So that's a link in Discord, but maybe you've subscribed and you're already seeing me and you're already here. I can't tell yet, but I'm gonna get started momentarily. And I put out a call for topics to cover today, and the only question I got was from Kelsey. So I'm going to follow her suggestion or request and see if I can come up with something that'll work for her. And I put it that way because I'm not really sure how to do this, or if there is a good way to do this. There may not be a good way. Like, it seems that this basic problem of identifying the gender of an author by a text sample is apparently not that easy, and so people have different ideas about the best way to do it, but no one's really settled on the right way to do it. So I have a couple ideas, and this is probably what I'll spend my time on today. I found this webpage. Honestly, there could be other ways. There are other ways I can look around, but I did find this webpage that does this. Like, it attempts to analyze text and determine the gender of the author. So, we'll see. The notes here, though, acknowledge that this is not very good. Like, they say it's about 60 to 70% accurate. And they also say it probably does not work on probably does not work on poetry. So that's interesting. So we'll find out, I guess. Ultimately, we'll be able to test it, I think. So, yeah. Get my manager pulled up. All right. Got 2 viewers, so hopefully Kelsey is one of them. Kelsey said she would plan to watch today, and this is mainly answering her question. Though I think trying to remember everyone else's topics off the top of my head. I think Connor's topic probably. I think you're doing something with gender too, so this may also be useful for you. Basically, I'm going to be creating some code here and then offering it to you for you to use if you want, and for anyone to use. I'm just putting it out there. So, hey, there you are. Hi, Kelsey. Thanks for saying hello. All right, great. So I'm going to get started. I have not set up a notebook yet, but I will share the link in Discord, and just got to get it all set up here. So that way, if you're watching this later, you can just skip to the end or just click on the link to the thing. Click on the link to the notebook and then just use the code there. Because if I can get this working, what I'm going to end up with is a function, a general purpose function that will check for gender and then give you a score, basically. So let's turn that on. Okay. Here's the notebook I'm going to work on today. Okay, so let's see. So one of the things that, if you do your own looking for this kind of thing, that you come across a lot is classifying a name by gender. And some languages, like human languages, national languages, have conventions or patterns. Like in some languages, feminine names tend to end with an E. So there are several different code bases and solutions to that as a question. Like if you're looking at a whole bunch of text scraped from Twitter, for example, this is a common place where people do this. You want to figure out the gender of the different tweeters, people tweeting, and when you do that, then you need to just look at their name basically, and it's essentially just checking it against a database of names. But classifying the gender of an author is a much harder thing to do. It's also actually, from what I understand, kind of controversial within linguistics anyway. Classifying text by gender. That is, it's kind of the premise that men and women write differently is an idea. Deborah Tannen is the person who I most strongly associate with that idea, but that's something that's I don't know. I think it's kind of tricky because we tend to be in control of our writing style, or we tend to write in ways that we think will reach a certain audience, and I don't know. I mean, the argument that it's somehow ingrained in us in a way that we can't avoid is sort of I don't know. It just seems different. It seems kind of weird to me, but all right. So thank you for saying hello. Melissa and Allison, good to see you all too. So, okay, so we're going to see if we can build something that'll kind of work, and we should be able to test how well it works by the end of this. Like, that's how we'll know we've got something. By the way, I also linked to, let me just explain this before I get into it too far. Got too many tabs open from earlier. I found this is somebody doing a tutorial, but all these videos are very long. I didn't have time to watch them. This is an article. Oops. This is an article I linked to, and some of you, Hannah especially, were interested in finding examples of the kind of thing I'm asking you all to produce. And I think this is a kind of thing that this is kind of like that. This is an article, I don't know this person, Austin Clemens, but he's doing data, like text mining, data analytics on gender in this case. And in this case, the gender he's interested in is the gender of someone who's being written about. So he's particularly interested in like the target of like or the subject of some text, not the author of the text. But he's noticing how there are different biases in the ways that people talk about it. And he's made this like little interactive thing where you can play with it, and then you can also go down here. I think this is probably the clearest thing. So you can sort of basically do little Mad Libs with this tool, and you can understand how within different corpora you are likely to be described. So if you are a hero of a Jane Austen novel, you are young, particular, and many. Like, these are adjectives that tend to show up near them. So pretty interesting, and this interactive thing is obviously pretty fancy, pretty advanced. You don't have to do that, certainly, but having graphs and having an explanation that breaks down by code, like that's all I'm asking for. This article does not include code, but it includes a description of the code down here. So this is kind of like a word problem in math, where if you read it carefully, you could understand what it's doing enough that you could write your own version of this as a program. That's the premise. So there's no real need for this person to share code, because he's explaining it pretty clearly in ways that I think I could do, and I could help you do if you wanted to do that. But that's what we're ultimately kind of after. Although this is a pretty elaborate example of this kind of piece. This is the kind of thing that I'm imagining you might produce. Okay, so let's keep going with this. Based on a JavaScript example. So this JavaScript example, the reason that it's kind of convenient is that it is actually in JavaScript, and the way JavaScript works means that I can just view it in the web browser. If I just view the source of that page, it's here, and then I just went to view source, and then this is the source of this page. So this chunk right here is their JavaScript that's accomplishing the same kind of thing that I'm going to try to do in Python. And so this will take some adaptation, and I'll narrate through it as I go. But if you look at it here, this is my understanding of what's going on. Like I said, this whole approach is something that different people have made different attempts at, and this is one particular solution. So this isn't necessarily the best way or the correct way, but if you wanted to improve this method, this is, I think, the heart of the algorithm. This is the part you would probably want to improve. It seems that these all here, so this thing called dictionary informal is labeling these words actually, am, as, because, but, And then down here, this is the dictionary formal, A above, and each of these, it seems, is given a numeric score, and that score is going to influence the outcome in terms of whether it's a masculine or feminine writer. And these numbers are the specific weight that the researchers who did the initial study here, the one that's mentioned in this paragraph, these weights are what they came up with. So they identified words as features, and so the presence of the word actually is going to have this numeric valued weight on the outcome. And so this word actually is a feature, and the presence or absence of this feature is going to influence the outcome of the score at the end. So this is using words as features, basically. We did features earlier when I was extracting features from text, and there are different kinds of features that text can have. Some of them are summative, like we were doing there, and some of them are just like it's either here or not. So this is, I think, what you would call the Bayesian kind of classification. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and start building this, and this is JavaScript, but there's nothing particularly fancy about this particular JavaScript, like the way they've written it here. It shouldn't be too hard for me to adapt it. So I'm going to spend some time here trying to do that, and like we've been doing, I'll set this up like I've done before. General, so importing modules and libraries. I'm not sure what we'll need yet, but you know, I suspect we're going to need text blob and NLTK and everything else that comes with that. So I think that's just going to, I'm not totally sure we will, but it's, you know, doesn't hurt. Okay, now the basic thing I'm building here is going to be a function. So I'm not going to be building this kind of cell by cell like I normally do. I'm just going to basically try to create a function that I can run once on a text. But I guess I do need some text, so I will do my, I'll go ahead and add my general purpose functions. Because I will need to read in the text like I've been doing. So I will put those here, and maybe I can just open one of those notebooks that I worked on the other day and start with that. Yeah, I was trying out the delta method. I didn't really get very far in figuring out the delta method for stylometrics. You know, it's very math heavy, and I got like I just barely started it, to be honest. So okay, so this is my get paths functions that I used before. Why can't I? Oh, I can copy selection. Okay, so this is my get paths function that I used before, and this is just going to be what? This is just going to be useful. Why can't I paste what I have? I did. I don't want to paste that. Come on. Come on. Control C. Control V. Okay, there we go. So that did not actually work because I need to mount the drive. So it did not give me an error, but I'm pretty sure that the path list would be empty because I had not mounted my drive yet. So let me do that, or let me direct Google to do that, and then I'll try this again. Okay, so and this is just, I'm working with the Chesterton corpus because I have that. I'll just do this, files equals get path, and oh yeah, of course I need glob. Probably going to need OS also. Let's try this again. Okay, so that seems to have worked. And this is going to be, yeah, a dictionary of the short name and then the full path to each of those files, which is, either one's fine. So what I'm going to be doing then is, right here, I'm going to make a new function. I'm going to make this the big catch-all function. So this is going to be def Predict gender. This is going to be the big one. And so I'm going to be building this here and like just, return something. I'm just making this complete so that it's not invalid code. So basically my expectation is that I should be able to say prediction or just, even print. But I'll basically be able to run predicted gender with some file, let's say this one, and then it should output a score. So this is kind of this is where my output's going to be. Eventually. So I don't have anything yet, like it's just going to return, it's not even going to run, I haven't even run this code. But this is eventually what's going to run on each file, but, oh, well, okay. Yeah, I need to give it an argument. Okay, so there we go. So that's just, it's not doing anything yet. This is just a placeholder to kind of set up the basic workflow. And eventually I will run it through each of these files. But for now I just need one, and that's going to be enough for me to test this and get some kind of output. So I don't need these cells anymore. Those are just kind of testing, and that's just extra. So so this is the idea. So now inside this function, this is where I'm going to start putting the things that are here, or wherever they are, in JavaScript. Where'd it go? Oh, no, it's right here. Okay, so these are, in JavaScript, you set up a variable by using the word var, and so these are just initializing several several variables. This is a string, and these are integers. It doesn't matter, because we don't have to do that in Python. And this is also setting up some of those as getting form values from the web page, and then creating some strings. So nothing that we really need to worry about yet. This is the fun part though. So we've got two things called dictionary informal and something called dictionary formal. And it's calling, the name of these variables is dictionary here. These are actually associative arrays in JavaScript, but Python has this thing called dictionary, and that is actually what we're creating here. So let's do it here. So we've got dictionary informal, right? Equals, and then dictionary, yeah, okay, that should work. And then dictionary informal and dictionary formal, right? They're using capital D's. You really should not use capital letters for variables, so I'm not going to. So that's going to be initializing those dictionaries, setting them up, and then now I need to populate them with these values. Thankfully, the syntax here is pretty similar, or it's similar enough that I can just do this. I can probably just do this in, do some find and replace action. And I do not have Sublime Text on this computer yet. But maybe I can do that with gedit. So I'm going to switch to my, let's see, I'm going to switch to my main capture. I'm going to switch to you're capturing my whole desktop so you can see me do this. I'm not going to leave it on this for long because it looks weird. But yeah, there it is. So I've just copied this whole thing where these people were creating this dictionary, and I'm going to copy that into my text editor. This is just a text editor called gedit. It's not very fancy. So I'm not worried about leaving space yet. So let's see. Oop. I'm going to need to worry about tabs in a minute, but I'll try not to right now. Okay, can we do find replace on this? Surely we can. Yeah. Okay, so let's look for. Oh, good. It does do regular expressions. That's good. But really, I just need like that, and I'm going to replace that with the lowercase version. Okay, good. That worked. And the square brackets is actually fine. the thing I don't need is the semicolon at the end, so I'm just going to find and replace that, but replace it with nothing. And that should be, except for this part, that should be pretty close to valid Python and accomplishing the same thing. So let's copy that back into the notebook, and I will hide my screen for a minute. So I'm just going to separate these a bit.
Dad, can
Yep.
we have a screen time? Oh.
You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. What's your mom doing? I'm doing a video right now, by the way. But yeah, you can have, I mean, I had to unplug that earlier, so hopefully they should be charged, but.
Yeah. But, someone will, buy cake Wendy's or Sweeteners, they'll be mad. And I wouldn't.
Well, what are they doing?
I don't know. Wendy's doing computers.
Okay, so she's doing her screen time on the computer, so you guys can use those.
So I can have the orange one?
Yes.
Well, she might change her mind.
Well, it's okay. Alright, so let me do the same thing for dictionary formal. And I guess what I'm learning and seeing is that there's a category of words whose presence indicates formality or informality, and then that's part of the scoring part of it. I haven't got to the actual way that the math is calculated yet. But let's do the find replace on these to remove all of the semicolons, and then to just change the lowercase. I'm just going to be a keyboard shortcut for this. And I'm just doing DICT just in case there's something else that starts with the same, like a D. I didn't want to just replace a D. I wanted to make sure I'm only replacing D when it's the beginning of the word dictionary. So that should work. And switch that back off. Okay, so put this in. Okay, so it's a lot of code in the sense that it's all here. There would be a much more efficient way to write this, by the way. It's just like, in my case, it's efficient to do it the way I did now, because it was already written, so I could just copy and paste their code. So let me just make sure this works as Python, and it does. It's fine. Yeah. So really the only drawback is how much visual space it takes up. Like you could definitely, like normally you would just write a dictionary like you would just write in curly brackets. You could be like a and then colon 6 or whatever. You know, you could just do it like entry by entry like this. You wouldn't have to do the whole thing. Like one line at a time, but the way that it's spread out like this does make it easy to read, I guess, and easy to tweak later, I guess. So it's not terrible. Okay, so still not doing anything. It's just setting up this set of features that this algorithm has determined is important. And okay, so now we need to do a few things with this. So word in their use here is the text that's being analyzed. And so this is where they've already taken in all of the text. And so this is where what we need to do is, it looks like these two lines are doing what we did earlier when we were counting frequencies. So we took all the text in and then we split it into a word list, and then we counted the features and did some things with that word list. So this is like what they have here is the JavaScript version of that, I think. So let's go ahead and add that in here. So we've got this variable called file in our function that's going to be the file that we're going to be checking each time. So let's make something called text, and it's going to, well, we need to do our with open thing. With open file r as f text equals f dot read. And So yeah, so that's opening that and then reading it in. I could go back to one of the other ones where we actually already did the word list thing. Because I'm trying to remember if we were able to lower it here. Were we able to use lowercase on this? I think we were. And we also want to remove punctuation. So let me see if they're doing that in here. It does not appear to me that they're removing punctuation, unless the JavaScript to lowercase does that automatically. But I'm pretty confident that we should do that. Okay, so let's do that. And that was from, we did that in one of these tutorials, I think. I don't remember if it was in that one or not. Let's scroll. Don't think it was that one either. But yeah, they did it in this one, so let's go ahead and let's just get this code. Whenever you can find something that's already done, it's better than figuring it out yourself, I think. Yeah, so this is what I was thinking, the strip non-alpha. This is something we want. So let's copy this function from this earlier tutorial and just use this. And I'll add this to my general purpose cell so that I can use it within my function that I'm writing. So I wonder if I could just can I do it like that? I don't know if I can do it like this or not. Strip non-alpha num, is that spelled right? Yeah, so hopefully that works. Let's see. We can actually run a print statement inside of this function just to make sure that it's actually doing something. So when we run this, that will print it from there. Okay, yeah, so that seems to have worked. 60,000 characters, is that? I don't know if that's right, but we can do some more testing to find out, because we also need to make this a word list by splitting it, and we'll just do it that way. And then let's just peek at the word list just to make sure that this actually makes sense. So this should give me the first 10 words. What? Oh, text is already, oh, strip non-alpha is already, that's right, it has the word list. It has the splitting built into it, that's right. So we don't need to split it. Okay, I guess it's working. So I guess all things considered isn't super long. Unless I was already getting it as what I did before gave me the capital L. That gave me the word count, not the character count. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we're still good. So we've got this text now. It read into memory as word list, and now we need to do the actual operations on it. So let's see if we can find this. So for each word, this is the comment that they've written in JavaScript. Add up the values from the dictionary. If the word is not in the dictionary, then ignore it. Okay, as you can see, JavaScript is a bit of an uglier language in terms of what it looks like, but this is still, it's not too bad. So we're making, so we have 4 values it looks like, and we're changing these. Huh, this is weird. I'm not sure if they meant to do this. I'm sure they meant to. I'm just surprised by the way that this is coded. So we're going to be going. This is iterating through the entire word list. This is just treating the current word as this thing called word now. A little strange they're using the variable word twice for different things. This is saying if it's not in the dictionary, then just ignore it. But if it is in a dictionary, then proceed. And as we proceed, let's check and see, is this number that we've got a positive number? If so, add it to male informal. Is it a negative number? If so, then subtract it from female informal. So I just think it's interesting that if it's positive, you add it, and if it's negative, you subtract it. It seems like you should just, if it's negative, you should just add it, because adding a negative number is going to, well, I guess subtracting a negative number is going to increase the female informal number. Okay. Well, we can do it the way they got it here, and there may be some reason I'm not totally following. And this should actually give us a pretty good sense of it, although it looks like there's some more calculation down here that does some more on it. So let's see what we can get from this. Okay, so we're going to basically iterate through each word in the word list. So, okay, great. We'll just make our own version of this for word in word list. And you can see how much cleaner and elegant Python is to write. This right here for word in word list, that's the same as that for Python. I mean for JavaScript. And well, actually both of those lines. And then, okay, so now we need to say we've got this word. If we need to know, is word in, what are we doing first? Informal. We'll do informal first. If it's in dictionary, informal. And I don't know if we have to do the keys method, but I'm going to go and do that. The keys should be just the list of keys, which are these here, like the words. You might not have to do that, but I'm going to try it and see what we get. So if it's in the word, yeah, if it's in there, then we're going to proceed. And if, yeah, this is going to be some nested ifs, but that's all right. So if dictionary, informal, word, this should be a number now. So we're going to ask, is it greater than 0? If it is greater than 0, then what do? We add one to male, add it to male informal. I guess we should go ahead and make these male informal equals 0, female formal equals 0. So if dictionary informal word is greater than 0, then we're going to add that value to male informal. Okay. Let's keep up with here. Seems like you could just do an else, but they've done it as a separate if, so just to keep it the same, just in case there's something I'm missing, I'm going to go ahead and do it the way they've done it. Else if dictionary, because if it's not greater than 0, then it's less than 0, right? So I don't know why you'd have to check for it twice. I guess this would avoid it being actually 0. Then we add that to female informal, or we subtract it from female informal. Okay, this should actually give us a result right now if we want, but let's go ahead and add the other version of this where we're checking the formal dictionary, and since this is mostly the same, I can probably just copy and paste this block and then change the formality. Make sure I copy all of the white space too.
Hey Dad.
Yes.
Just so you know, this isn't even plugged in.
I know, I had to unplug it. Is it charged?
No, not at all.
Sorry. It's screen time. It's approved screen time in our house right now, so people are finding their screens, and that's. I had to unplug the charger because I need it. So, okay, so this should be. Now this is the informal block, and now this is the formal block. So yeah, I don't know if you can follow this as I'm doing all this, by the way, whoever's watching, but I mean, you have this, like you can run this on your own later, so even if you can't follow it right now, you can use it, hopefully. Okay, so this is gonna be now, so I've created these two numbers, male informal, female informal. I should make the formal versions. Okay, so there should be now new values for these after these two blocks of code run. There should be new values. So I'm going to go ahead and print these just to kind of see what they are. I'm not really sure how these get combined to actually make the prediction yet, but I want to see if these numbers actually change. They should. Local variable reference before assignment. I did that wrong. I was typing and talking. And there's lots of the word formal and female. It's all a lot of the same letters and sounds, so it's easy to get it messed up. Okay, so we have numbers. These are, I don't know what you do with these numbers yet, but this so far seems to be working. Like this is doing what I expected it to, so that's a good thing. I see we've gone about 35 minutes or so, so I'm gonna work my way towards something that works here. This may go a little longer. I don't know how much longer this is gonna take me to get it actually running, but I feel like I'm close. So bear with me, and of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can fast forward or double time it if you need to. Okay, so looks like now we're actually going to do the results. So let's figure this out. So part of this is actually displaying the output, so we don't need this much of it. This is two variables, %, which I guess is the output here. Let me show you what the output looks like. So this is going to be printing this here. So we're giving the difference. I think the higher this number, the more male it is. So let's see. So that's the math that's happening here in this this area. So let's see. There's the okay, so you're getting two sets of numbers. There's one for informal writing and one for formal writing. So I guess if you know ahead of time which your sample is, whether it's formal or informal, you could put more stock in whichever this is. But that's okay. I don't think we need to know that difference. Okay, so this right here does the math. So this says, first of all, just double checks that both of these are positive numbers, meaning we have some score here. And then it's calculating a percentage, which is the male informal times 100 divided by male informal plus female informal. Okay, great. I'm going to call this score just because I feel like that's more intuitive instead of calling it percent. But because I feel like percent, like that's a loaded term. So we'll say percent. We'll say score equals 0 to begin with, and then just to make sure that it's an integer. Or well, no, we want this to be a float, don't we? So that's we probably want it to be a float. So this part, and you can see how Python and JavaScript are not entirely dissimilar, and we are using lowercase to be more Pythonic. And so this line here, I'm just going to copy this one here over, and even though this is, I'm just going to paste this line in here as a comment so I can read it. So score equals male informal times 100 divided by, it's actually very much the same. Okay, so that should be something. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but let's go ahead and print it, see what it looks like. 65.28, well, whatever. Yeah, so this is actually the same text, Chesterton all things. So that 65, that is actually the same number that this reported here, 65.5. Yeah, well, pretty close. So that's good. I mean, that's confirming that at least I'm doing the same thing here. But let's kind of interpolate that. Well, let's just adjust this a little bit. I'm trying to remember how to round to a decimal place in Python. So I can't remember, so I'm Googling it. Or DuckDuckGoing it. Yeah. Really? There's just a round function? Okay. Oh, okay, that was easy. So yeah, 65.29 is the score. Now I guess we need to then make sure we see how to interpret this. So let's see. I'm not sure what this is here. Weak emphasis could indicate European. I guess they're just identifying different contexts. Okay, so let's see. There's a bit more here to figure out. So percent, this whole block here does what I just did. So this is just working on that score and then making it look nice. Then this difference, I'm not sure why difference is significant here. But it can be captured and measured. Okay, well, but as far as the gender decision, this is it right here. It just says if male informal is greater than female informal, then it's male, and if it's male informal is less than female informal, then it's female. So what did we? So why did we? What does percent mean then? If that's not actually being. It's not actually what we're measuring in the score. I guess it's just it's a measure of confidence, I think. So if it's between 40 and 60, it's considered weak. But if it's higher, then it would be considered a stronger decision. So, okay. Okay, so let's break this down. I don't think it's actually a confidence score per se, but it's something. Okay, let's figure it out. So if this is, I'll copy the JavaScript over here. I don't need this tab anymore. So this is the JavaScript. Let's write a Python version of this. If male informal is greater than female, informal. I'm just going to make a variable here. That's just gender, which is a string, and then I'll say gender equals male. I'm just going to do if else because that's faster. I don't know why they would do the opposite. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. Okay. So this is the informal feature set. Let's do it for do it this way. I'm going to actually make two different genders. I'll call it informal gender and formal gender. And then, because this is all informal, right, so then I'll do a whole yeah, I'm not really interested in the weakness part of this because I don't think that's necessarily helpful yet, but I'll keep it in here. I'll call this so I'll call this score informal score just because again we're kind of doing everything twice with this code, I guess. Although I think it'd probably be easier. I think it would be clearer to separate these out into two separate functions entirely. So I don't know. Let's do a formal score down here. Got a spacing misalignment there. Formal score. Let's try it for the formal bit now. So just got to change all these, switch the formality of all these variables. So bear with me while I make sure I get all these. We did informal, now we're doing formal. Ugh. It's very windy today. Took a walk earlier and it was nice, but it was like getting blown all around. So now let's do formal gender. Okay, now, so now we should actually print this output in some way. Down to 2 viewers. Okay, I guess you're hanging in there with me. We're almost done, I think. This is, I mean, it's working, I think. Let's make sure there's no errors. No errors, but the printing the output here doesn't actually give us the answer yet. Let's make it look nice. Let's make it actually print a prediction. You know what, let's just do both. Let's just return the gender. Keep it simple. The informal first. And then the informal. All right. So, yeah, it's male in both of those for this one. Of course, the best test would be to try this on some other text and see if it tells us something we know already. So, yeah, I don't know. So Kelsey, if you're watching still, I don't know if this is going to give you what you need. Yeah, let me get your thing back in here. So like if Kelsey, if you're looking at, this is Kelsey's, I don't know if you're watching still, Kelsey, but if you're, this is the, your spreadsheet, your metadata. So if you're looking to add a column here for gender, which I'm just doing there for you, I don't know if you want to put just male, female there, or if you want to put a score of how feminine or how masculine. If you wanted to do feminine and masculine, this formal score, informal score would be more helpful in that case. So what you write here for this function to return will depend on what you want to put in this column, basically. There's lots of things available here. This basic one is just returning the the gender. But we could also return the score, or we could do them in different ways. But I'll leave it like this because it's pretty simple right now. And I do want to try this on, let's see, I want to try this on a different author because I just have Chesterton here. Let me see what else I may have in my drive that I could try it on. What are all these things? Surely I have something in here that's an example I was doing at some point that's not Chesterton. I guess I could upload one. Oh wow. Got a lot of copies of my Twitterbot spreadsheet thing. It's kind of interesting just looking through all these. Okay, I can't find anything, but I thought I can just upload it. I probably don't have anything on this computer either, so let me get something. Let's get Frankenstein. No, I do have Frankenstein on this computer already, don't I? So let's try it. I was doing something different with texts the other day for my 101 class. All right, well here's Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Let's do that. So that should. I mean it's a woman author, so right. So that our theory is that should show us that. So predicts that that's female. Let's find out. Okay, it sort of didn't get it right. That's interesting. Well, let's try some more. So we've got Pride and Prejudice here. Yeah, and once again got it wrong in terms of informal, but both of them got the formal gender right. Huh. Well, let's try another masculine text. Or well, here's Emma. We could do Emma. We've got two Jane Austens. Yeah, the same result. This first one always seems to be male, so let me just make sure there's not some error in how we've done this. So this is, the first one is informal gender, which is being determined here. Yeah, it's an if-else, so yeah, it's the same. Okay, I don't know why that's the case, but I'm really going cross-eyed looking at this code though, because there's so many instances of the word formal. So if you see something I'm missing, then let me know. But it seems like it's just the way that it's calculating things seems to work better if, like, and we know, I guess we would call this formal writing because it's prose. So let's try Count of Monte Cristo. So this should be male. Okay, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, okay, here we go. I mean, this is kind of working. I can try this now on all of my Chesterton files because I still have this here. Let me go ahead and run an example that might look kind of like what Kelsey wants to do, and then I'll wrap it up because I'm going almost an hour now. So this is my getting paths function, right? So let me get all of those. We'll do files equals get paths. Remember, this is a dictionary for file and files. I'm going to say predict equals predict gender, and I'm going to be running it through the path, which is the right. Okay, well, yeah, I just ran the function for all of those. That's not what I wanted to do yet. I'm just making sure that it actually works. So I'm giving it the path here, and then I'm going to print out the results. So this will be so this will tell me the formal genre because it's going to be the second of that tuple there. Oh yeah, and I don't need to print out those raw scores anymore. That's going to just make my results harder to read. So my assumption is that these will all show up as male because they were all written by G.K. Chesterton. And yeah, they did. So, okay, great. I think I am interested in knowing how strongly masculine or how or not they are. So I think I might be more interested in writing this in a way that will tell me that. But this does predict gender of these things, which I think is what Kelsey was interested in doing. So hopefully that's helpful, or hopefully you can use this code now. Just make a copy of this notebook for yourself and then try to tweak it for your own purposes, and then if it doesn't work or if you get stuck, let me know and then I can take a look at yours. So let me know and send me a copy, like a link to your notebook, so that I can take a look at what you've done to it and see if I can solve any problems with it. So, all right, well, that took a little longer than I hoped, but I got through it. It's there, so you're welcome to use it. Maybe I'll put the link to this too in the YouTube comment or the YouTube description to this notebook. So if you find this later or someone else finds this later, you can use it in case it's helpful. So okay. Otherwise, I hope you're making progress on your projects. I think, as I mentioned in the announcement, maybe I'll send out a survey just to kind of see where everyone is and make sure that, like, where you are in your projects, and so I can make sure to use this time to be as helpful as possible. So yeah, if you have any questions or issues or whatever, I mean, I want to help. I want to use this time to help you get this done. You got about 3 weeks left in the normal, like, nominal part of the semester, so I think that's time to do a pretty good project here. I know you've got all kinds of other things going on too, and all kinds of anxieties and stress and everything. This is a terrible time. So I understand if this project isn't your top priority, but I think you still have time to put together something pretty good. So I'd love to help you figure that out. So let me know how I can help. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to shut down the stream. Thanks for watching. I'll post this on YouTube later. So have a good weekend.